Well, a very good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra on this 9th day of October 2017, Monday. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. Now, with 16 days to the repeat poll, NASA has been conspicuous in its absence from the campaign trail. With Raila Odinga, its flag bearer, scheduled to jet out of the country tomorrow, there is a perception that the opposition is either not keen or not ready for this month's poll. Now, by contrast, Jubilee continues with its heightened political campaigns, and this time round they have pitched camp in Mombasa County for the next 2 days, as the Jubilee-sponsored election law amendments are on the fast-track lane for debate this week. But even as IEBC gets ready for the repeat polls, commissioners will know later today if they will be the team to conduct those polls, after 3 voters petitioned the court to disqualify IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba, together with the commissioners, over the nullified August 8th presidential poll. At the same time, the Supreme Court is set to give direction on a matter where IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati sought to find out whether he will have powers to edit forms 34B in the repeat poll. And finally, NASA demos are set to continue later today as President Uhuru Kenyatta and NASA leader Raila Odinga accuse each other of economic sabotage. Well, those are some of the topics that we'll be looking at throughout the course of this broadcast. Welcome once again to the show. We value your feedback. Talk to us. SMS us on 22422 with your views on some of the topics we will be discussing throughout the course of the show. And you can also talk to us on social media. The hashtag is Citizen Extra at Citizen TV Kenya on Facebook and Twitter. Of course, I'll also later on be introducing my guests in studio. But before that, we have correspondents across the country who will be telling us the latest in regards to that. I think we have John Wanyama in Uasin Gishu and Martin Munene in Nyeri County as well. There was a slight technical challenge just with getting those instructions. We can actually begin with Martin Munene in Nyeri County. Martin, good morning. I know, of course, that the news came out yesterday that NASA leader Raila Odinga expected to travel over this week, actually, and what that would mean for the repeat poll. I know you're with Kieni, Member of Parliament, Kanini Kega. Kindly go ahead and give us that update.
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Mwaura, and indeed you're getting us live from Nyeri County. We are at the White Rhino Hotel, where I am with the member for Kieni, Honorable Kanini Kega, who will be giving us an insight into some few things. First and foremost, the fact that they have been on the campaign trail. They've been hitting the ground across this county and telling the people that the elections are still going on, and they've actually insisted that NASA is not ready for election, but on their part they're not only ready, but they're going to ensure that the voter turnout in this county and counties across the nation that support Jubilee is actually greater than what happened on 8th of August. And kindly, Mheshimiwa, kindly, if you can join me here, I'd like you to kindly give us your perspective on what is going on, especially the fact that you guys have been going around campaigning. What is your campaign message, and what are you trying to tell Kenyans?
One, of course, we are going in line with the ruling that was given by the Supreme Court, though we didn't so much agree with it, but we say that since the highest court in the land say that elections or flash elections should be held within 60 days, and then we had the IEBC team giving us a date of 26th of this month, and then we decided to hit the ground. One, we want to tell our voters who voted for us that they did their part and we got the votes, but we also want to tell the voters, and especially here in Nyeri, we had 65,000 who did not vote. So we also want to encourage them and make sure that they also vote. I'm happy because it is not just the team here in Nyeri that is working on it. We have so many people who have come to be with us. Yesterday, we had a team led by Governor Madago coming all the way from Uasin Gishu, and also Jamlek Kamau to come and go around with us. We have about 15 teams around the country who are drumming up support for His Excellency the President. So for us, we are ready for the election. We know that our competitors are not ready for the elections, and we have always been saying that they are not ready for the elections. For us, when we are hitting the ground, they are busy calling press conferences, they are busy calling people to demonstrate, not mass action, but just demonstration and looting. So it is very, very clear that for us, we are ready for the elections. His Excellency the President is ready for the election, but the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, is busy telling his people that they should not go for the election, coming up with all sorts of minimum, the bare minimum, demands, which of course we know those are just excuses. They are not ready for the elections. Having said that, we know for sure that the former Prime Minister, being an astute politician, knows very, very clearly that he does not have the numbers to beat His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And that is the reason he is coming up with all manner of issues, all manner of excuses. Maybe trying to create a situation that the country is not safe so that they can have a sitting. We have seen already some religious leaders coming up with this narrative that would want to have a sitting so that now we can avert crisis in this country. We don't have crisis. In fact, the situation we have is that we will be sorted out on the 26th when Kenyans go back to the ballot, and we are ready. We won, but our win was actually declared null and void, but we said we are going down there because we know that we have the numbers.
All right, there are indications that the former Premier Raila Odinga will be leaving this country maybe in the course of this week. It's not yet known exactly when he will be leaving or if he has left yet. What is your take on the fact that he could be out of this country for some time?
One, we have noted with a lot of keenness that all the other principles are not hitting the ground. The Kalonzo Musyoka is missing in action. Ali Hassan Joho is also missing in the action. We have seen Musalia Mudavadi, they are not as active. We have not seen them campaign anywhere. So this is purely confirming our worst fears that they have other sinister motive. Maybe they are going outside, out of the country to try and talk to their big brothers out there, to maybe try and convince, you know, the Kenyans so that we can have a sitting. Then we negotiate about the formation of a government of what they would call a national unity. We want to tell them very, very, very clearly that what we have at the moment, we have a clear constitution that clearly stipulates how leaders are elected in this country, and there is no two way. It is through the ballot. So if Raila is going out of the country today, tomorrow, or after tomorrow, that one is a clear indication that he is not ready to do campaigns in this country. And if that is his wish, the only good thing that he can do, being the Democrat that he claims to be, is just write to IEBC, say that he is not a contestant. You know, you don't have to contest, you know. If he writes to IEBC, we will be saving Kenyans 15 billion shillings. We also be saving Kenya a lot of anarchy, the kind of looting that is happening in this country, and he will be doing a huge service to this country. So we would encourage him. If he is going out of the country, if he is not ready for the election, please save this country by just writing to IBC and saying that you are not ready for this election. And for sure, Kenyans will respect you for that, and Kenya will move forward.
All right, that has been the Kieni Member of Parliament, Kanini Kega, saying it as it is here in Nyeri County, that they are ready for election and they're mobilizing people to come out and vote in large numbers. And also the message that they're passing across this region is that Raila Odinga is not ready for an election, and they're saying whatever happens, they will have to come out and vote, and they will do it like he said, that they're going to make sure that the maximum number of voters come out and actually exercise the democratic right. That is how things are in Nyeri County. Back to you in studio, Higamora. In Nyeri County, I am Martin Munene.
Thank you so much, Martin Munene, for that update that you've just brought to us. Remember, we are live in different parts of the country. We are live from the CBD Nairobi Anniversary Towers, where Hassan Mugambi will be giving us an update on the state there, bearing in mind this is the second week, I believe, of the NASA Anti-IEBC demos. What is happening outside Anniversary Towers, IEBC headquarters, we'll be finding out shortly. We're also live from Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, Kisumu County, and Mombasa County as well. We'll be giving you those updates throughout the course of this broadcast. But for now, let's cross over straight to Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, where John Wanyama is on standby. News, big story last night. NASA leader Raila Odinga expected to head to the United Kingdom tomorrow, with about 16 days and counting to the October 26th poll. What does that mean for the elections? What does that mean for NASA campaigns as well? John Wanyama, what do residents of Eldoret, Uasin Gishu feel? How did they react to that news when that update came out?
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Maura, and as you said, here in Uasin Gishu, the story really that went on air yesterday about Raila Odinga going outside the country, maybe this week, has sparked a lot of reactions from members here in Eldoret town. And without wasting time, Maura, let's hear from themselves what they have about this issue of Raila Odinga moving out this country, remaining maybe just less than 15 days to the election. If I can start with you, maoni yako ni yapi kuhusiana na kiongozi wa NASA Raila Odinga anataka kutoka nje ya nchi siku chache tu kabla ya uchaguzi?
Mimi naitwa Benjamin Leting. Hiyo kutoka kwa Raila kutoka kwenda nje ni in bad bait. Hiyo sio mawazo mzuri, kwa sababu angengojea mpaka election ikwishe. Sababu hiyo imeonekana Raila anajua kitu fulani. There's something Raila anajua. So tunaomba serikali aweke double check. Hata akienda ngambo afuatwe. Yajulikane naenda kufanya nini na anarudi kukuja kufanya nini. Because we don't trust Raila. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Ya maoni yangu naitwa Tarus. Naongea kutoka Uasin Gishu. Huyu mzee kutoka nje tungeonelea aongoja shindo ni atoka kama ameshindwa. Na asiende sababu atuamini sababu ameongea good election. Maybe alikuwa na agenda nyingine mpango kando. So atutaki na tumekataa.
Kwa maoni yangu ninasema ya kwamba huyu Raila ambaye ametoka nje kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya, tunaona ya kwamba si kwamba anaenda kufanya jambo nzuri. Tunaona ya kwamba Raila ako na mpango mwingine mbaya katika jamhuri yetu ya Kenya. Huyu jamaa amekataa kufanya election ifanywe, na tunaona ya kwamba kwa sababu amekataa kufanya election katika jamhuri yetu ya Kenya, tunaona ya kwamba ako na mpango mwingine ambayo sisi tukiwa wananchi hatuwezi kuelewa. Sasa tunataka Raila akubali ya kwamba Jubilee ameshika serikali, na tunataka Raila akubali ya kwamba tufanye election tarehe 26 ili ashinde pro safi. Hiyo ndio maoni yetu.
Mimi naitwa Nelson Kogo, mimi ni resident wa Eldoret, na sisi hatukubali mambo ya Raila kwenda nje. Na sisi hata sisi wa resident wa Eldoret na Wakenya wa jumla hatuwezi kubali mambo kutoka nje wanakuja kurudi Kenya yetu. Sisi ndio tunaamua, sisi ndio tuko na kura, na sisi ndio tunachagua kiongozi. Mambo ya Raila kwenda nje, hata aende nje arudi, hakuna kitu kingine tunaamua. Sisi ndio wananchi wa Kenya.
Thank you very much, Maura. Those are few views from residents here, and as you heard, they are saying that they are not happy with the move when Raila Odinga is moving outside the country a few days to the election. The truth of the matter, Maura, here in Uasin Gishu is that the business economy is really hurting, and people, like we moved in a few hotels, we moved in a few saloons, you find that the number that used to come in the shops to buy, even in supermarkets, have really decreased, and people are really crying about this issue, praying that this election will come and pass so that Kenyans can go back to their life and the life can come back to normal so that they can continue making their profit. Maura.
Thank you so much, John Wanyama, for that update, giving us the political views of residents of Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, and the current business environment as well in these interesting political times. Well, from Uasin Gishu, we head to the Central Business District, Nairobi County, Nairobi City, where Hassan Mugambi is on standby. Hassan has been covering the NASA anti-IEBC demos even over last week, I believe. So far, what can you tell us this morning, Hassan Mugambi? What is the security situation there like? Are there any signs that we could see demos happening later on? What's the latest?
Well, thank you very much, Wahiga. Back at studios, the IEBC headquarters here at Anniversary Towers stands fortified and protected with a contingent of police officers. We see anti-riot police officers outside this particular building, just forming a human ring to assure that no protesters will be making their way here to, picket, as they have already made that judicial notice or a notification to the officers or to the police that they will be making their way here. Whether or not we'll be seeing them coming here in their numbers is something to wait and see, because we have seen in the previous 3 weeks, this is the 3rd week that these particular demonstrations are happening here in Nairobi, but they have been quite low-key in Nairobi, with every other week the NASA brigade calling on their members or supporters rather to come out in their numbers so that they can show their dissatisfaction with the IEBC Secretariat that they want to vacate office before the repeat election is conducted as one of their bare minimums or irreducible minimums that they have been making a clarion call on. But then again, whether or not we'll be seeing the demonstrators showing up here today is a wait and see here at Nairobi, because we have seen, judging from what we have seen in previous weeks, we have seen quite low-key demonstrations in Nairobi with the police officers very, very keen to make sure that they nip the demonstrators in the bud before they make their way into the central business district. We have seen them dispersed even before they make their way in this particular place several times. We have also seen the first time that they actually made their way here, we saw running battles with police. That was the first Monday that they called for the demonstrations, but ever since that time it has been a lull during the demonstrations here in Nairobi. But other towns, of course, we have seen very, very flared up demonstrations trying to just picket and show their dissatisfaction with the members that they want removed from the IEBC. But then again, interestingly, here in Nairobi, we have seen leaders actually leading that particular demonstration. We saw Esther Passaris, we saw Gladys Wanga, and the likes of Millie Odhiambo, who are very, very much on the front line, leading the demonstrations on Friday and even Monday last week. And now that it has been made 3 times a week, the frequency of the demonstration having been increased, we're expecting to see whether they will be showing up here today to just picket and show their dissatisfaction with those officers that they want removed. Wahiga.
Yes, he's Mike. Hassan Mugambi, thank you so much for that update, reporting just outside Anniversary Towers, IEBC headquarters, giving us the latest. You could clearly see heavy security presence behind him as the forces have decided to quote-unquote ring-fence the IEBC headquarters. Of course, we'll keep crossing back there, just know what's happening, bearing in mind this is week 2, I believe, of the NASA anti-IEBC demos. What will happen there, we will give you an update even as we continue. For those of you watching us at home, interact with us. We have been asking people across the country your take on the move by NASA leader Raila Odinga that he will be departing tomorrow for the United Kingdom in what should be a 3-day visit. Of course, those are the details that we have so far. Politically, what does that mean? What do you think about that? 22422 is our SMS line, and talk to us on social media as well. Glad to have my panel here with me in studio. Let me introduce them to you, starting from my far right. Wende Mwinzi, political analyst, former aspirant Mwingi West, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Gabriel Muduma, political analyst, welcome to the program as well. Doyo Widi, political analyst, karibu sana. Ken Ambani, political analyst, welcome as well. And Honorable Amos Kimunya, Member of Parliament, Kipipiri, welcome to the program as well. Monday, I'll start with you. The big story, of course, NASA leader Raila Odinga. He is expected to deliver a lecture on the 13th of October. That should be this Friday at Chatham House, Royal Institute of International Affairs. He'll be talking about Kenya's next test: democracy, elections, and the rule of law, among other engagements. Politically, what does that mean from where you stand?
From where I stand, I actually think his trip is a well-calculated trip that is extremely irresponsible. The timing is very suspect. It's creating a lot of unnecessary anxiety in the country. Those of us who are, who've been speculating, where NASA is going, are really not surprised. I think it's just one more indication that Raila Odinga is not ready for the elections. I actually don't expect him to come back after 3 days. I expect...
Even though his team has said that he will?
His team has said many things that are not necessarily very honest. So I expect that he's going to go deliver this lecture and then come up with some story, maybe some medical condition that will bar him from returning.
Do you have proof about that, or that's just
No, nor do I wish it on him.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's literally consistent with a pattern of changing the goalpost, elevating the level of anxiety in the nation, which as a leader I don't think he should do, and it's simply another attempt to run away from the ballot, because he has absolutely no intention of going, and they've made it quite clear, going to the ballot on the 26th.
Gabriel, do you agree?
To an extent, there's an element of truth with what Mwende is saying, and on my view, I think Raila knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that he can run the waters at this point, and he just wants to create a narrative, and he just wants to create a story. That has been Raila for you. Everybody's talking about him, and that's what he likes. So that's 3 days, and then he comes back. He'll still have created a story. But when you look at what is going on, and as a person and as a candidate, he has all the constitutional rights for him to leave and depart the country, go do what he's doing, probably take time if it's some like my good friend is saying, some probably condition that probably he's going to seek advice. You never know. But from what I'm able to make is that he is creating the story as he always does. And in fact, the fact that we are here today talking about him, and we are not talking about the people who are leaving his bandwagon, that's probably what he wants to discuss. And given the fact that he has that constitutional right, he's just exercising it. And I don't know why people are making this a big deal, because even when he's around, Raila at this point is not campaigning. He's made it clear that he's not going to the elections. I mean, look, his CEO Norman Magaya the other day from this broadcast said the very same thing. There is no election. I just heard two of his legal advisors saying that even if you are on the irreducible minimums, they'll still not irreducible minimums, right? They'll still not hold an election. It's still late.
So rallies over the weekend, the NASA rallies that were scheduled.
He would not have gone to Mombasa. He would not have gone to Mombasa.
That's a sign of what we should expect to see.
He would not have gone to Mombasa, justified by the very fact that President Uhuru was going there, and they also knew that Hassan Omar was actually going to defect from Wiper, coming to Jubilee.
That's what
even if it was me, really, I don't think I would have taken that trip, because really it would have been a showdown. I would not have done that. And Raila is he knows a good 1 or 2, 3 things in politics. He would not have taken that suicidal move.
Okay. Odoyo, come in.
Thank you. I have heard my friend concur with Mwende Mwinzi that Raila Odinga's movement to the UK a few days to elections is very suspect. There can be nothing more suspect in this country than amending the laws at this point in time as we approach the election. Nothing can be more suspect than that. Nothing can be more suspect than the death of Msando a few days to the elections, and then his place is taken by somebody who had been. So let us not talk about things which are suspect and things which are not suspect. President Kibaki left this country to the UK just days to the elections, and he came back and won in a free and fair elections. As long as they are free and fair elections, we can go anywhere, even on the election day. In fact, Raila's only one vote cannot make him lose. So even if he were to stay there until the day we go to do the elections, vote for him, and he comes back and takes his seat, that can do work. So this idea that he's leaving or is not campaigning does not arise. We had already campaigned until the 6th, and we were ready to win this election. But because it was rigged the way we all know it did, at least if we didn't know, the Supreme Court told us what really happened. So I think somebody seeing suspicion in what Raila is doing now is refusing to think with the other engine of his brain. We have two sets. One that thinks for the party we support, we put it on. The one that thinks for the other side, we put it off. That is what we are doing in Kenya today. Even me, sometimes I refuse to see the good things that Jubilee does, simply because this is how we have been engineered in Kenya. Okay. This is a country where you have a president goes into office and only remembers that who was my coalition partner, who are his people, then he forms a government. This is why we are having these serious issues in election time.
I want to bring up something that happened during Game Plan 2017 yesterday. Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen stated that Raila has made up his mind. He is pulling out of the race any time now, pending further consultation. I know you're not his spokesman. Could there be any truth to that?
There is the lie that statement is, because if somebody was to speak for Raila, I am sure it is not Kipchumba Murkomen. It could have been anybody else, but the last person would be Kipchumba. So that one, I don't think we needed to ask ourselves that question. It's simply a political statement made by Kipchumba. I am not sure what he intended to achieve by that statement.
Okay. Ken, you can come in now. We've talked a wide range of issues. I'll allow you an opening statement now.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. One, just to pick up from well, Widi has left, I think we are pushing this narrative too far and giving Raila more space to ventilate, in the sense that Raila has always kept Jubilee second guessing, and this is where he's at his best.
So you think they don't know what he's up to?
They don't know what he's up to. Number two,
what is he up to? Do you know?
I don't want to speculate because I'm on a national TV, but he has really kept them on their toes.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the most suspicious things about
no theory at all, even those that you discussed off camera. What is this? What is he leading to with this kind of move?
One of the things that Raila is pursuing is for us to have systems that will work and can work even in his absence. What do I mean by that? Raila is simply pushing for Kenyans to soul search and build institutions that will last beyond him. And this is what we are not seeing. I'm glad we are with Mheshimiwa Kimunya here, and I thought when these election, the rules that the current rules that the parliamentarians are engaging in would have probably asked fellows like him, who are repositories of history and wisdom, to have guided them. Because in the past, these gentlemen caucused, and when they moved as a house, they moved in one direction. But here you can see these fellows are just thumping. These guys want to pull the show, the other guys want to do this, and therefore they cannot agree on how to pursue these things, even if it means changing laws that will ensure that we have systems that are working.
Okay, let me bring in Honorable Kimunya now. Go ahead, I can allow you to make your opening statement.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this morning and having this strong panel here. And let me start by saying quickly on the laws, because this is something that has been widely misinterpreted. Amending the laws at this point is not a suspect move. It was necessary. It was desirable. We don't have a choice. We often have 60 days. We have some gaps in the law. They have to be tied before the next election. And any responsible leadership will do exactly what Parliament is doing. So Parliament is demonstrating leadership by doing what it needs to do to make sure that by the time we go to the polls, all the loopholes have been sealed.
Even though different parties have asked Parliament to be patient, why not amend those laws after the elections?
IEBC itself has accepted the laws.
IEBC itself looks split. Last week we saw that the commissioner went alone. He had to be asked to go back and come with the other commissioner.
Which was fine. And I think that part of that split is what this law is trying to amend. So that we are not 45 million Kenyans are not left at the mercy of some two groups who are split. We need an institution that works as an institution, regardless of who is in the chair, regardless of who are the commissioners, but working as a team and knowing that there's institutional continuity, right, which is very important, especially when we have the kind of situation we're having. The next thing I want to just say is in terms of this trip, I see the former Prime Minister's trip and all these issues and the controversies, the demonstrations. I see it as part of just looking for some free, airtime, free campaign, free publicity, because there's a controversy being covered every day. So that, because in the absence of formal campaigns out there, partly because of resources, partly because I'm in politics, and the last thing we want to do is to go and stand on a podium and you're telling people how you're doing well, and all your chaps are leaving, are moving to the other side. You've seen about 50 people left so far. We've counted and counted, and we are getting actually tired of counting who is leaving. About everyone who is who in NASA has left, right? Because nobody wants to be in a sinking ship.
Would you say everyone? Would you say those who lost in the past polls?
Well, that's an indication, because they have people. Remember, who had 8.2 million votes? Raila had 6.7 million votes, right? Part of the 6.7 million votes were brought by all those people. The governor for Kajiado, right? Watch this space.
So you, in your calculation, those who lost had support, and they have now
moved it across, right?
Okay.
So, if you are Raila, what would you do? Go and start up in the rallies and start showing how strong you are, and people are leaving. They could even leave you in the rally, and you find that all the seats are empty, yeah? Because the people you expected are not there, because they've left. Not many people are also happy with the kind of development, with the kind of development that are taking place. I mean, I know Professor Anyang. I know his passion for Kisumu. I know what he wants to do for that city. He must be bleeding, seeing what is happening, courtesy of, his presidential candidates calling people to go and demonstrate without telling them the extent of responsibility expected. Right? Kisumu is burning. Kisumu is, for a long time.
Raila has asked for protesters to protest peacefully. He's actually reached out and done that over the weekend.
But you see, there's nothing like protesting peacefully.
We see it in the West all the time.
But have you seen it here? Have you seen it with the National Brigade?
To some extent we
have.
You
even seen it? Even on a match, on football match when they win. Have you ever seen?
Okay, fair enough, Honorable Kimunya. I'll come back to you even as we carry on. We just want to I needed to interrupt you for this breaking news out of the High Court. This was regarding a judgment on whether IEBC commissioners would oversee the fresh presidential election. It was brought to the High Court by 3 voters whose names I'll be giving you shortly. But this is the judgment. The High Court has dismissed the case seeking the removal of IEBC commissioners, ruled that the petition is unmerited and has no legal basis. Let me just give you a background to this. 3 voters, that's Brian Aswin, Ben Wanasakami, and Kevin Alwanga, had argued that the integrity of IEBC officials to hold credible elections is in question, adding that they failed to conduct the August 8th general election in accordance with the Constitution, and therefore should be barred from conducting the fresh presidential election. In their defense, the IEBC had asked the court to dismiss the case, saying the court has no jurisdiction to hear and determine this case. I'll shortly be engaging my panelists here on that breaking or developing story out of the High Court. But for now, can we cross over to Kisumu County, Kisumu City to be more specific, where Laura Otieno is on standby to give us the latest there. Laura, we know that more demos were called for today. What are you seeing right now in the city of Kisumu?
Well, thank you very much, Wahiga, and a good morning to you here from the lakeside city of Kisumu. And indeed, demonstrations, the plans are underway. We are receiving information that in Manyata and Kondele, the roads are already barricaded. Of course, Sam Ogina will be updating us with the details from that place. But where we are right now is at the IEBC offices, where we can confirm that security has been heightened and beefed up to the teeth. I mean, we saw police officers patrolling this area, and they just moved into the IEBC offices. Basically, they're trying to beef up or rather man the security situation around this area. Around town for now, business is as usual. We can confirm that people are walking up and about in the streets, basically trying to mind their own business. But of course, considering the incident that happened on Friday, we will be walking around again shortly to see whether they'll be taking precautions to close down their shops. And of course, we were speaking to the Kisumu County Police Commander, Titus Yoma, who confirmed to us that 7 people were arrested concerning the looting, the Friday looting, where two will be charged with the exact charges of looting, and 5 are facing charges of incitement. Of course, the 7 were expected to be arraigned in court today. So we are at the IEBC offices, where right now it is a bit calm, but of course we expect the action to come here at around 11 or 10 thereabout, where the demonstrators, of course, we know that they'll be heading here to the IEBC offices. But of course, as usual, the march starts from Kondele all the way into the Central Business District and then into the IEBC offices, and where we can, as I told you earlier, we have received reports that in Kondele and Manyata they've already barricaded the roads, but whether the action has started, we cannot really say that as at now. But Sam Ogina will be updating us with the details from that front. But here the IEBC offices, it's calm, and in the Central Business District, business as usual. But of course, we're expecting to see what goes down when the mass action starts. Wahiga.
Thank you so much, Laura, for that update. I'm sure we'll be coming back to you. And Sam Ogina, who I'm told is in another part of the city, to give us updates. But what we know for now is that some roads have been barricaded in Manyata and Kondele parts of the city. And Sam Ogina will give us more details shortly. Mwende, let me come to you. You've heard about that case at the High Court that's been dismissed. Do you think there was any merit to it? What do you think was the thinking or reasoning behind those 3 voters who went to the High Court to seek for IEBC, to stop the IEBC actually from overseeing the repeat presidential election?
Well, Well, clearly they were just simply trying to layer onto the agenda of discrediting the IEBC as an institution. We saw in its detailed ruling that the Supreme Court did not hold any member of the IEBC culpable of anything. They've not been accused of any crime. We, as Jubilee, we talk about these amendments we need, are trying to strengthen the loopholes. And my friend down there talked about us respecting institutions and wanting to have long-lasting institutions that outlive whichever officials are serving. That's precisely what this is about. So I think we need to seal the loopholes. We need to leave the witch hunting alone. We need to support the officials who've not been accused of anything to conduct their business, to see us through this election that's scheduled for the 26th, which we have every confidence will be fair, credible, and transparent.
Okay. Gabriel, let's widen this discussion. Several cases in court at the moment. We know Pokot South Member of Parliament David Kosin is also in court versus NASA. He is seeking he's arguing rather that NASA has given every indication that it plans to boycott or impede the poll. He wants clarification on this. Ekuru Court is also in court seeking clarification whether he can participate in the repeat presidential election. IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati is at the Supreme Court also asking whether he'll be allowed to edit Forms 34B, I believe, or not, depending on the different interpretations, whether it's the minor Kiai case at the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court judgment. What impact could all these cases have on the polls? So many cases, so few days to the polls.
Everything else, I'll look at it from a political tangent, apart from the chairman's going to the Supreme Court.
Even Ekuru Court case, you see.
That's a political, he has a political tangent. But what the chairman is looking for, and actually from where I'm seated, I think that was the best advice he ever got. You remember when he went to seek clarification or interpretation of the Agure printing, and the issue about public participation. The Supreme Court and actually the High Court, they were able to actually give him a scenario, and actually that's why that rule was not used against him during the Supreme Court ruling. And I thought that is the best avenue for him to keep going to, because really, if I look at Chairman Chebukati at this point, he's a lame duck. He's just an announcer. He can do nothing. And I mean, when you're talking about introducing laws as my friend says, it's suspicion. I mean, it creates an element of suspicion. The Maina Kiai case, it came about 3 weeks before the election, and you remember they were so happy, about that decision. But what ended up happening is those laws, albeit the fact that they meant well, were misused. And so if you look at the new amendments, and that's why I'm telling people from all divides, Jubilee and NASA, read these amendments. Read, understand them. Stop taking a political stance. And I'm asking them, do they fortify or do they weaken the laws that we have? When you talk about somebody not deliberately messing up or bungling an election, is that fortifying or weakening? So you see, it demeans the character of independent bodies when you look at everything from a political tangent. And that's why we are missing the big picture, because Chebukati is going to look for interpretation, and justifiably so, because he wants to know. Look at it this way: if somebody deliberately messes a Form 34B, what is my take? What do I need to do? Because you know very well you cannot change anything according to my case. You have to wait until it comes through to court. So what are you really, as the chairman? What must you do? Are you going to just read those reports and say you have errors here, you have errors here, you have errors here? Then the Supreme Court will have a lot of work, because that's all they will be doing. There was an error here, there was an error. And the deliberate attempt, that's what I'm against. And that's why I'm liking some of the amendments that were on this.
Which ones don't you like?
You see,
that's maybe where NASA have an issue. Which ones do you have a problem with?
Honestly, at this point, the only one that does not sit very well with me is where you say you do like an overswitch with transmission. I still, coming from a technology point, I say let the electronic one be the first backup, but set up an ironclad system of a failback of a fail-safe plan, because generally,
which is the manual one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Our election is 90% manual, if we have to be honest. But that does not mean, and probably this is where NASA are getting this wrong. And that's why I'm telling you, I commend them. Continue reading this, because they think you are substituting the system.
Well, manual takes
exactly. The electronic is still there, but we all know that systems are prone to fail. They will fail. That's just a fact. You cannot have a system that will work entirely okay. We saw that even when we were trying with the BVR kits. Okay. There were some that were failing, some were working okay. So when you have a system that is able to offer a fail-safe mechanism, I am telling you, we are going to erode so many problems like the ones we saw. And then you briefly you put in a gear whereby you're no longer looking at the technicalities or the process. Remember, I have not mentioned the system. The system is okay. All right? Don't mess up an election based on a technicality or a process. Find out, does the vote, the substance itself, does it count? That is why I'm liking these laws, because they are fortifying the process. Okay. But majority of them are thinking they are...
That's your take. Let me allow Doe now to respond to that.
I listened to my brother very carefully. First of all, he was talking about Maina Kiai case having also come very close to the election. The ruling came close to the election, but actually the case was filed much earlier. And of course, as the courts delayed, it delayed there until it was close to the election. But they decided that this, because it was filed earlier, to determine how we are going to handle this election, let it now be ruled on at this time. So I think bringing Maina Kiai's case and these deliberate amendments of laws close to the election, when we even had laws before which we used, which even today Jubilee is still clinging on, that the will of the people was overturned. It is very important for us all here to note that the will of the people was overturned by IEBC and not the Supreme Court. And you keep on bringing this idea that the elections were nullified on the basis of technicalities and processes. No, the election was nullified because it was the results that were at the polling stations were not the ones that were being displayed at Bomas. And the IEBC was asked to prove it by showing us the logs on the server, how they were transmitted from the various polling stations. They were unable to prove it. In fact, so that wait, my brother. Let him finish. Let him finish. And I'll give you a response. IEBC could not prove that the election results that were being displayed at Bomas were the ones transmitted from the various polling stations and constituencies. In fact, it is shocking to see that in 2007 and 2013, when we looked at the board at Bomas, we were able to see Kipipiri, this number of votes, Kasipul, this number of votes, Kisauni, this number of votes. This time around, there was nothing like that. This opaqueness began much earlier. And I remember even the media were being told, if you display any results, we will deregister you. So rigging an election begins much earlier. And it did begin much earlier.
Just to clarify, I think the media were told not to broadcast their own. I don't think it was about displaying any results.
Any other results apart from IEBC.
But you actually displayed. Yeah. Sorry, okay.
There was nothing wrong with reporting that
I just need to raise that up. Go ahead.
Is bringing this kind of results. This is their results. This is IEBC results, and these are the results. Because they did not want a situation where somebody sitting in a constituency, maybe in Bungoma, is able to see that we counted presidential votes for, say, Uhuru Kenyatta at 10 here. Now in Bomas it is being displayed as 38,000. You see, those are the things they wanted to avoid.
I have to stop both of you because we need to cross over to Kisumu County. Sam Ogina on standby. I don't know which part of Kisumu he is in, but what can you tell us, Sam, about the NASA anti-IEBC demos?
Well, Wahiga coming to you live from Kondele in Kisumu County, where, as you can see behind me in the background, protesters having a debrief from their leaders, and we understand that the Kisumu women representative Rosa Bui is actually right there addressing them, of course, in the language that they can understand. Of course, the debrief coming against the backdrop of what transpired last week, whereby protesters ended up looting and destroying property, and of course we understand that yesterday evening, that is the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga actually held a meeting with members of parliament from this particular county, and the message really was that as much as they're advocating for the demonstrations to go on, now escalated to 3 days a week, what the demonstrators should not actually do is destroy property and even loot as it was, and that is now why you are seeing even before the protests begin, they're having a small debrief, and then from there, of course, they're going to march all the way through this road, all the way to the IEBC Central Nyanza Regional Headquarters, where my colleague Rora actually is. Of course, the demonstrations here have been marred by demonstrators provoking security officers, as it were. And of course, what we understand is the security officers, what they've resolved to do is they are going to provide security to the demonstrators, but what they will not do is actually engage them in running battles unless provoked. Of course, demonstrators here sort of liking that effect of engaging security officers, because they are the ones who have been demanding that, of course, the tear gas that police officers actually are using should actually be used on them. Of course, the anti-IEBC demonstrations here, the message or the rallying call being that IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba and 11 other officers that the NASA team has actually implicated should leave office before there can be any constructive or even for NASA to actually participate in that presidential election on the 26th of October. And as you can see, that means that the action here just begins a peaceful demonstration, as it were, they walking all the way to the IEBC headquarters, and of course just trying to push a message that there should be reforms at the Electoral Commission. If no reforms, then there will be no elections. And as it were now, the demonstrators beginning their grand march to the IEBC headquarters. Of course, they're going to go through this particular area, and right on my right-hand side is the Kondele police station, where it's just right here. Of course, we'll wait to see how today's demonstration will go. Hopefully, no ugly scenes as witnessed in last week, and of course, we want to see how that will play out. Of course, now we'll just have to listen in and also just see. We can see Rosa Buyu. And let's just if we can speak to them. Well, Wahiga, let me just talk with the demonstrators here as we go. So we'll leave you with the live pictures of the demonstrations here happening, and we'll be, of course, keeping you posted on exactly what transpires here in Kisumu.
Thank you, Sam Ogina, for that update. Live pictures now from Kisumu City. The protests have begun from the Kondele part of town. The protesters, led by their leaders, making their way now to the IEBC headquarters. We had shown you the heavy security presence that is outside the IEBC headquarters, led by Rosa Buyu, woman rep, Kisumu County. I think we've also seen Honorable Uta, the senator, also together with that, as part of the leaders represented there, leading these youths. Now, on Friday, we had seen the aftermath of the looting of a supermarket. That's the Tumaini supermarket. But over the weekend, we've seen calls by NASA leaders that no looting should take place, that the protesters should not allow any looters amongst them during this. And I believe that is maybe part of what the briefing that was going on was all about. And so we have also been told by Sam Ogina there that the police have decided to protect the protesters and will not engage with them. We know that on Friday there was very little use of tear gas as compared to previous demos, and even though some youths had attempted to taunt the police had not responded with any tear gas or really engaged them in any way apart from just watching from a distance.